And welcome back, y'all, to another video on the Grade A Fantasy channel, previewing the tight end position for the Week 2 main slate on FanDuel. Let's get right into it. Normally, I'm very good at just sticking with what I normally like to go with quarterback. Unless, certain things happen, the rotation is pretty much quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and then combine tight end and defense. Or sometimes I will separate tight end and defense from one another. But in this case, I had to jump in with the tight ends because of the news that just broke about an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago, from when I'm doing this video. And let's get right into it. So, before we start the actual preview, let's get right into the big news. And there you go, right there. I kind of figured, come on. You pull a hamstring that bad, sit out the rest of the game. Hamstring, soft tissue injuries are not stuff that you mess around with. It was just a case of how long. And I think the report is several weeks. So I think he'll be reevaluated either somewhere between week 6 and week 7, if I'm not mistaken. Because obviously he got hurt week 1. So soft tissue injuries, stuff like that. For anybody, but somebody just as physical and what he does with the blocking and everything. For sure, I knew he was going to at least be out for the rest of the month of September. So I think they will reevaluate George Kittle mid-October. So what does that mean? Reevaluating George Kittle in October means now there are some good 5K and still decent mid-4 option at tight end. Once again, I didn't really pay up. The highest I did pay up was Kittle, and it looked like a solid pick. He was low owned damn near in every contest. I think he was low owned. He was probably a little more owned on DraftKings, but he was definitely under, not even 5. I would say he was probably under 4%, maybe 3.8% on FanDuel yesterday. Kittle started out well, but then, he got hurt. So then when you see the rest, it's basically up to 2 guys. Now, let's get into optics of what this can possibly look like. These are options. I just don't think they're locks. So Luke Farrell and Jake Tonjes. So they both pretty much were the platoon for the 49ers and Purdy. But digging into the snap count, Farrell had 44 snaps. Jake Tonjes had 30. Farrell is more of the blocking tight end, as Jake Tonjes had 30 snaps to Farrell's 44, but Tonjes was there for more of the passing package. His 30 snaps that he played more on passing down. So if it was a second and long and it was a pass play, they went. And if it was like a third down longer than 4, then he was in the game. Farrell was definitely more on the first and second, set run play kind of things. Or if it was a screen pass set to McCaffrey kind of thing. So even though, yes, all he did was 3 for 15 and a touchdown, for fantasy value, you want Jake Tonjes. He was definitely the one that was more available in the pass packaging. I will definitely have bits and pieces of him, but the reason why I say not to get too crazy is because there are amazing opportunities to pay down at tight end. We'll get to those in a minute. If you ask me, more than likely possibly my favorite pay up has to be McBride. It's McBride, hands down, period. I like Travis Kelce. I like Sam Laporta in this game, but my favorite pay up without doubt is the top guy, 7K Trey McBride. As we go down, I like Mark Andrews to bounce back this week. I still see him still getting maybe a few more chances and snaps over. I definitely see him still getting a lot more snaps before the backup Isaiah Likely comes back. And even if he does come back this Sunday, I still see Mark Andrews playing more snaps. So, like I said, just like in the quarterback section of the video, link in the description, I definitely like him for a bounce back. And here's the big thing. We got Njoku. I had a pretty much decent amount of him, and there was one thing that came out of nowhere. There was actually two things on the Browns that came out of nowhere. We'll talk about that in the running back video because Jerome Ford was set to be the workhorse while they had everybody else behind him because they only had like two or three running backs on the roster in general. Well, Jerome Ford sank a bunch of lineups because he only ended up with like a 1.2 or 1.7. David Njoku only had a 5.19. And the reason why that is because out of nowhere, the rookie Harold Fannin Jr. pretty much almost outsnapped him. I think he pretty much outsnapped. I think the difference is just by 4 snaps, and he definitely shown a lot of light. Plus, with the way the roster is set up, Cleveland likes to run 2 tight end sets, sometimes 3 tight end sets, and Harold Fannin Jr. had a great opening day. It's definitely a tougher matchup against Baltimore. Totally understand that, but when you have sets and you probably have a tight end stopping short and then another big body stopping maybe past the sticks of the first down and maybe even a little bit further, Harold Fannin Jr.'s without a doubt. I mean, definitely got to drop your Njoku love, and Harold Fannin Jr. made a huge statement. So this is what I was talking about. You probably don't have to go as far down as Jake Tonjes for 4.2K because the tight end position is essential for what the 49ers do. Obviously, not having Kittle makes McCaffrey, Pearsall, and Jennings more viable, but the tight end position is still something that Brock Purdy throws to. So same thing like how Flacco uses his tight ends, but Harold Fannin Jr. was definitely the one that stood out the most of everybody there. And yeah, I don't really like paying up too much. There's my boy Tyler Warren. I told you guys that he was another one. He was one of the young tight ends that I saw coming, without a doubt. Tyler Warren had a great game against Denver. I think he is viable again. Remember, the main guy, the main target, top wide receiver will be shut down from Patrick Surtain. So cross out Pittman. So that's Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, Alec Pierce, and then you got the athletic Tyler Warren. I like Tyler Warren, 5,500. He had a solid performance. Tyler Warren's up from 47. He's already jumped to the mid-5s. Start getting used to that, especially from the first 4 weeks of the season, as everything develops from the soft pricing of week 1. But Tyler Warren's another option at 55. I like Jonnu. Why do I like Jonnu for Pittsburgh? Not because of how well Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball, but it's because the tight end position is something that can still attack Seattle. Kittle got a touchdown. Jake Tonjes didn't kill them, points, but the touchdown made him look better. So somebody as talented, sure-handed like Jonnu Smith, he can get the goal line looks from Aaron Rodgers. I like Jonnu against Seattle. They didn't really do the best of jobs guarding, 49ers tight end, even though it wasn't the big sample. But Jonnu Smith is definitely a lot better than Jake Tonjes and Farrell. Jake Tonjes and Luke Farrell. So I like Jonnu Smith against Seattle's coverage linebackers. With the wide receiver core they got, I don't think he has to, unless the free safety or the strong safety, depending on what side he lines up on, presses the line on him. But other than that, Jonnu Smith is another option. That's 5.4. Like I said, we already spoke about 5K. Harold Fannin Jr. Surprisingly, I didn't write him in my notes, but this is definitely something that's viable here. And what's weird is it's not an offense. Like, I totally faded the offense. I had none of it. No Kamara, no nothing. But I did watch the Cardinal and Saints game. And what makes these guys look a whole lot better because of the way the game is going, because it's a full point PPR and DK. But I will say this. They're doing their best. They're doing their damn best to make sure Spencer Rattler is not, in the backfield. Like I said, the offensive line isn't that good. The game script and the game plan. Well, the game plan leads to a game script. And these are literally 3-step drops, maybe the longest 5-step drops. And he's getting the ball out of his hand very quick. These are all routes that are, depending on where they're lining up from, speed and spacing. So Spencer Rattler, even though he didn't throw for that many yards, game script wise, he's a nice punt punt option too because it's quick 3 to 5 steps and getting 12 targets, 876. That day looks a lot better if they can somewhat move the ball, give the ball to Kamara, step back pass, step back pass. These are quick passes that go for anywhere from 4 to 7 yards. Now, obviously, when it comes to yardage in the air, yeah, Spencer Rattler's going to be at the bottom of the league because he's barely, if ever, throwing the ball. And deep for him, when I saw that game, deep for him was in the teens. He wasn't even getting the ball downfield past 20 yards unless, he had to throw it away or he took his 1 or 2 shots. So the game script here is, I actually thought this was a team that I wouldn't even find viable all year, but watching the game, and sometimes you got to watch context. Hey man, it helps. It helps now that FanDuel at least has a 0.5 for receptions or whatever. But this guy looks even a hell lot better because if he had an 11.6, then I think he's looking at a 15 point whatever, almost 16 points on DK, 12 targets, 8 receptions. And if you're going to stop short, unless you got a wide receiver going in the flat, Jawan Johnson is a big target that can curl into the field in front or behind the linebacker core or take that flat to the side, left or right, going towards the sideline, depending on where he lines up at. And to end this, so he's an option, even though I didn't have him in my notes. The game script, yeah, you can see a bunch of these games where him and Kamara don't get 100 yards. Maybe if they get a touchdown, the game looks a lot better. But they actually had him drop back for 45 attempts. Didn't do much of them because they were all short because he didn't even get over 200 yards. But fantasy-wise, am I saying stack? Hell no, not yet. Until they unleash, the chains off and let them start conducting. Yeah, dropping back 45 is a lot, but everything was short and underneath. Everything was maybe linebacker level. I'm telling you, there was barely any pass attempts going down the field past. If it was 1st and 10, the best example is there were barely any passes going past like the first down markers on the 1st and 10. Everything was short. But for fantasy, they were quick and efficient passes. And like I said, they're definitely without a doubt better plays. 1 point PPR, they're definitely better plays on DK. But if you can get decent, if you can move the ball decently, get some garbage time stuff, and then of course if the Saints are down, he's gonna keep passing the ball, and you get a guy for this cheap, and let's say 76 could be 80 something, close to 90. If he gets the touchdown and gets 14 targets and gets 9 to 10, $5,000 is viable, definitely without a doubt. And then the last option I would like to go to possibly, who would I say I like here? They go one of the 49ers guys. Where is he? Yes, I'm going to go down because this is another game script kind of thing. Carolina, horrible. Jatavion Sanders showed some talent with the 3 receptions that he did. But guess what? Carolina's going to be a team that's going to be down. He is without a doubt one of those guys that has taken over from the veteran tight end. It was for Tommy Tremble. They're relegating him. One, he's coming back from back surgery. Tommy Tremble is definitely more of the blocking back. Jatavion is one more of the athletic young tight ends. You could put him right there with Fannin Jr. and my boy Tyler Warren. So, I don't think it's necessary to go down this far. If I'm going down this far, then just give me the better quarterback throwing to Jake Tonjes. Because all you got to do is go lower than $300. Carolina offense is a whole lot worse. But for $4,500, they're going to be down. They're going to be throwing the ball. 5 targets, yes. Showed a little something in his 3 targets. Showed some athletic ability. He's still the main tight end option. A lot of young tight ends in the last couple of years really showing some stuff. Not trying to blow them up, some of these guys up after, just 1 week. But like I said, Fannin Jr. I didn't see coming. But Jatavion and Tyler Warren are 2 young tight ends that you have to watch out for. I'm letting you know right now, especially with Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is somebody that I know give it by the end of September, he's going to be in the mid-6s. Somewhere between 6,300 and 6,700 real fast. Unless a bunch of bad games pop up. Tyler Warren, the Colts, is going to get up there. But that is the end of my tight end preview for week 2. So my favorite plays or what I really like, and hey, if you're gonna dive deep, if you're gonna what they say dumpster dive for some value, you don't really have to because like I said, you got Warren at 55, Jonnu at 54, Fanning at 5K. And that's already cheap enough as it is. So if you get one of those guys and decide to get the top defense, it's two people that's 5,000. And like I said, sometimes you don't need the top defense. So you're already under 10,000 with some of these guys here, depending on the defense that you pick. But if you're gonna go dumpster diving, I will definitely go Jake Tonjes over Jatavion Sanders, even though I did say game script can say Jatavion can get a lot of passing work because Bryce Young will be down and will be throwing it towards the end of the game. But Tonjes just has the better quarterback and the better offense. And he's 300 cheaper than Jatavion Sanders. So that's what I like right there. Thank you once again for tuning in. Once again, good luck this week. Running back and wide receivers will probably drop tomorrow. And then by the end of the week, I'll probably, running back. I should have this week previewed and everything done by Thursday. Possibly. Maybe even by Wednesday. Already dropped 2 videos today, so all that's left is running back, wide receivers, and defense. But tomorrow we'll be I already have my notes down for the running back. I started just jumping on tight end because of the Kittle news that broke. So tomorrow, definitely the running back video. Once again, thank you for tuning in. This is Grade A Fantasy, signing off.